Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today I have yet another video about healthy and unhealthy orchids. So I will grab 4 popular orchid types and I will show you and compare what a healthy specimen would look like or looks like and what an unhealthy ones look like as well. And give you some tips on how to fix it if it is fixable. What else is happening to your orchid. To start here, as you can see, I do have this beautiful Vanda, and I'll definitely cover Vandas today. I had another video about it where I cover other 4 very popular orchids. I'll link it down below for you. Today I will cover another 4, and if there are other orchids that you would like me to compare for you, let me know down below. Without further ado, let's start this video. To start, as I said, let's cover Vandas first. Vandas are these gorgeous orchids that have massive flowers. Generally speaking, I'm talking about the popular ones that you can find in garden centers as well. There are a ton of other Vandas that can range from tiny to medium sized, but we're going to talk specifically about the large ones. So these will push out these beautiful large flowers that can be colorful, ranging from purple, pinks, white, oranges. They are amazing. They are definitely a showstopper. So when we have space in our house to have these beautiful orchids, it will most definitely bring a smile to your face when they are in full glory, like my beautiful Vanda Sanderiana. And this one is a good example of a healthy one. So a healthy Vanda will push out blooms that will last for at least a month for you. The blooms are generally speaking long-lasting, and they will have a cascading of blooms like this one. A big Vanda will also have a ton of aerial roots. The roots are thick, they have root tips, and they go all around the plant. Something else, when you look at the leaves are sturdy, firm. They will have a dark tone of green to it. And when we go to the top of our plants, the leaves will keep growing as large as the previous leaves, sometimes even a little bit larger than previous leaves. So, when we talk about it, let's explore some of the stress signs or the unhealth signs in our Vanda plants. First of all, some of these, it's that we can look at the bottom leaves, and if we have a ton of leaves that are yellowing and falling at the same time, not just one or another, but like many bottom leaves that decided to fall immediately, you might have some issues with your potting mix. Maybe it's too humid, maybe you have some moldy issues. Something's most definitely happening, and I super recommend removing your big Vanda from this pot and repotting it immediately. So this one is a very good example of an unhealthy Vanda, what it would look like. So as you can see here, the bottom leaves, that actually is the mother plant. This here is a keiki. So what's left of the mother plant is this section here. And everything here is very limpy. Can you see how floppy these leaves are? Which means that they don't have much energy to keep growing and sustain itself. On top of that, all of these aerial roots here, they are all brown. And if I touch them, I can see that they are sturdy, but not sturdy like a good-looking root. They are completely gone. So I suspect I don't have live roots inside this pot anymore. The only thing that I still have from this plant is this keiki and these 2 aerial roots. The only issue with the cake is that it doesn't have roots to sustain itself yet. That's the only reason why I didn't detach it from the mother plant. And if you look into the leaves here, there are some wrinkles on these leaves, which means that this plant is dehydrated as well. Yeah, it's a very sad plant. This is a very good example of a very unhealthy plant. If you don't know what a keiki is a baby plant. So this one push out a baby to be able to survive. Side by side, here I have another Vanda that's not doing amazingly well. As you can see, I don't have many aerial roots. I only have this one and a tiny one that's not growing very fast. It's very slow at the moment, and the plant is limpy. Can you see how floppy all the leaves are? That's a clear sign that something is wrong with this Vanda. I discover what it is when I look inside the potting mix here. It's full of mold, so I need to remove the plant from this potting mix, offer it a completely different place. So it will probably be able to grow healthier than what it is right now, because it doesn't have many roots to sustain the size of this plant. The roots that are inside the pot, they are not doing well because the mold is probably suffocating the roots. So the leaves are all like that. On top of that, they're not going to be able to grow as tall or as long as the previous leaves. And they have some wrinkles as well. Although the green is not the worst shade of green, but I can see just looking at it that it's not hydrating properly. That's why it is limpy, and that's because the potting mix has issues. Sometimes the Vandas will be able to push out a cake like the one before that in order to try to survive, which is really good because that one there had a crown rot that's similar to Phalaenopsis rot. That's when the crown of your orchid has some bacteria or something affected and is not able to grow anymore. So this is a monopodio, so it needs to keep pushing roots from the top. If you lose the crown of your Vanda, it will not live for long. So in that case, specifically, push out a keiki. These are good examples of Vandas that are not doing amazingly well. Now, let's go to the second plant of this list. But before I continue, just to remind you, if you could like this video, subscribe to my channel. There are some links of products that I use down below. And on top of that, there is also a super thanks here if you want to do something extra. But more importantly than everything is to just subscribe and ask me questions if you do have any questions. I'm always here and I try to respond to you. Sometimes it gets a bit long, but it's just because there are so many things going on. I most definitely read all of your comments and I try to respond as many as I can. So, okay, let's take these out of the way and let's go to the next plant. Now I am going to the king of my orchids, the Dendrobiums. And this Dendrobium is a Dendrobium nobile hybrid, which is very common. You can find this one in garden centers, flower shops. I think in most continents these plants are super affordable, available almost everywhere. And they are beautiful when they are in bloom. These super tall canes, they are able to push out so many flower spikes. These plants, they definitely will be amazing to look at when they are in full glory. So, why I'm talking about these beauties here? Because as I said, they are pretty affordable and common orchids. Some signs of this one that it's a very healthy one is that it has super tall canes. The canes are sturdy, firm to the touch. The leaves are also firm. Something else is that this plant will push out these canes that are new growths, and the new growths, they have to grow as tall as the previous growths, like these ones that you can see that the growths, they are extremely tall. It's normal for old canes to lose its leaves, but it's not normal for the newer canes to lose its leaves. In this case, I have many canes. They are all full of leaves. They have beautiful growth patterns here. And as soon as the temperature drops, if I decided to place it in a cool room, they will all be able to hopefully bloom for me and put out a beautiful show. These plants only bloom once a year when the temperature drops, so they are induced by the winter weather. So if you don't have a place, if you don't live in a place where the temperature drops, these plants will never be able to bloom for you. And that's not because the plant is unhealthy, it's just the way it works. Let me show you some other Dendrobium nobilis, and I put some B-rolls as well when I reported my very stressed nobilis. So this is the white Dendrobium nobile hybrid. Some examples that this is not as healthy as the other one, as I mentioned, is the size of the cane. As you can see, the older cane is much larger than the newer canes. They are all very small. And when I look at the leaves, they are a little bit floppy and they do have some wrinkles as well. So on top of that, yeah, none of the canes were growing very, very tall. Only the older canes, and all of them are full of keikis, which means that I'm probably, I don't know, or adding too much fertilizer, or the plant is not hydrating itself properly. And for this reason, since it's not super healthy, it's pushing out keiki to be able to survive. If you notice that your plant has too many keikis, that's not a good sign. you can safely remove these cakes to see if your plant can save some energy and use this cake and pot them separately. That would be amazing. I'm gonna show you how my other dendrobiums were. Let me grab one of them here. They used to be super tall dendrobiums, beautiful, full of leaves and canes, but last winter I left them to be in the cold room for a long period of time. These plants, they lost their roots, so they stopped hydrating themselves, so the canes died. I had root rot, that's when the roots become completely brownish, and in the end they were all not really good. So what I had to do, wait for the cakes to grow. Maybe the roots should be around 15 centimeters long to be safe. I removed all the cakes and I pot them separately with the one cane that I could save. I've done that to more than one of my dendrobiums because they were actually suffering a lot. This case here behind, it's a case that I need to actually repot this plant, check the mix. I think it's not doing very well in there. It fell, so it lost part of its potting mix. And I think all of the top roots that are there are completely dead. I don't even know if I will place it in a cold room. So if your plant's not very healthy like this one, before it is able to properly bloom for you, it needs to be completely recovered. So we aim to have this plant as healthier plants than a dendrobium that will be able to bloom, but will probably be gone very soon. So this one example, let me grab the other common dendrobium that I have in my collection. So this one is a Dendrobium Phalaenopsis. Similarly to the other dendrobium, each will have canes, and the canes will have to be tall, firm. You're not gonna find wrinkles on these leaves. You're gonna see that the canes are all fully hydrated. The idea is for these canes to grow as tall as the previous canes as well. And again, the green of the leaves is a pretty dark and beautiful green. The flower spike will come from the top here of the cane instead of around the cane, differently from the Dendrobium nobile. And on top of that, these plants, they can bloom all over the year, multiple times a year, and they don't depend in a cold temperature or the temperature to drop to be able to bloom. Like the other dendrobium, when it's possible, we should offer bright light so it will be able to push out flower spikes. I'm going to grab one dendrobium that I have for a long time, a Phalaenopsis that is not doing very well, and I will show you some signs. I love to put these plants side by side because it's pretty clear that one is healthy and the other one is very unhealthy. So this one is the same type of dendrobium, but when I look at the canes are much thinner. Not only they are thinner, we should compare them, but they are also all wrinkled. This one is dead, but I have some live canes, and even the live canes, they are very thin compared to a healthy cane. That is because it doesn't have much energy to grow this cane, so the canes are all very short, the leaves are small, some of them has wrinkles as well. I don't have many leaves, and on top of that, I have so many dead canes in here. What I suspect is that this mix is not right for this orchid. The roots are not being able to grow fully inside it, and they are not being able to hydrate my plant. I guess I have a serious case of root rot, so I would have to remove this plant, repot, check the root system, remove everything that is dead here, offer a completely new mix, and see if the newer growths will start slowly to recover. If you notice smaller canes, thinner canes with much thinner growths, that's a clear sign that something is wrong here. On top of that, if the leaves are all becoming dark brown or black, that means that they are completely dead. And again, always look to the leaves, see if they're lumpy or wrinkled, and also at the green of the leaves, but this one is much darker than this one. The light green tone is not common here. It is happening because it's not being able to photosynthesize completely and fully like this one, because this one is severely stressed. Okay, let's go to the next plant, and of Dendrobium. So the next orchid, it's common slash not that common, but I think a lot of people have it in their collection. So this one is a Brassavola orchid. Usually Brassavolas We can find more in orchid nurseries. For this reason, I don't think it's as common as the other ones. But they are so cute, they are so beautiful, and the way that we look after them is very similar to Cattleya orchids. So I'm showing you here my cute Brassavola. I think this one is the cucullata, I'm not sure. I will place the tag down below. How do I know that my Brassavola is healthy? It's very simple. If I look at the leaves, all of these leaves, they have this succulent aspect to it. So the leaves save a lot of energy, different from Dendrobiums that they have their canes. They don't have bigger canes or bigger pseudobulbs, so they will save and store water and energy on their leaves. When you touch them, they will be very firm, like a succulent plant actually, and they will have a ton of different divisions. On top of that, as I said, the leaves, they have to all grow and be healthy and tall, like the previous leaves. And when I remove from its pot, I need to look into the root system and check how the roots are. This plant has firm and green roots, and when the plant is dry, these roots, they will be kind of whitish, so which means that whitish to gray, which means that you need to water your plant. So this is a very clear sign that your Brassavola is healthy, depending on the species or the hybrid. It should bloom more than once a year, and the blooms, they last for around 3 weeks. So if it's not blooming but it shows sign that's super healthy, you might need to offer a little bit more light. These plants are high light plants. Let me show you an example of a not healthy Brassavola. But this Brassavola wasn't healthy at all. Most of the roots, they were very limpy like this one. The tone of green is much lighter as well, which means that this plant is stressed. It has lots of wrinkles and is not as succulent, plumpy as the other ones, because all the water and nutrients that was stored here, the plant had to use it in order to keep alive, since it had no roots. So when you notice that's very limpy like that, the first thing that I have to do is check if you have watered your plant and if your plant has roots inside its pot. As a consequence of losing nutrients, some of the leaves are going away, and I have very, very tiny growths because this plant didn't have energy to keep growing as tall as it had previously. So these are all signs that something is wrong here, and when you remove the potting mix, I will not see, oh, to be honest, look at that. I have roots, I'm so happy with that, but before I had no roots inside the pot. So I watered it recently. That's the reason why this plant is doing much better now if I compare these leaves to previous leaves. But before that, everything was looking like that, which is a terrible sign and a sign that your plant is terribly distressed. So now let's go to the fourth and last plant of this series. So this is my tiny Tolumnia. Tolumnia orchids, they are so cute. The flowers remind me of the Oncidians or dancing lady orchid. They are super compact, they fit almost everywhere, and they are very, very cute orchids. Usually we can find them in orchid nurseries as well, but they are super affordable and they fit most of our spaces. That's why I decided to include it. Tolumnias, like I was showing you the Brassavolas, they have this kind of succulent plant type of leaves. They create new fronds or new growths. These growths don't have pseudobulbs. They rely on these succulent leaves to be able to feed them and hydrate them. So when they are under stress, we're gonna see some difference in the structures as well. This one is a healthy case. How I know this is a healthy case? Because as you can see, I have a frond that's taller than previous one. I have more growths coming on the way. The green of the leaf is pretty nice, right? It's a dark green tone. I have a flower spike. This is a young plant. It's the first time that it's blooming for me. And when I grab my pot, although it's a little bit green with algae, I can see, I don't know if it's possible to show you, but I do have some thin roots growing inside it. Tolumnias, they do appreciate a little bit of highlight, but also they like to be hydrated when their mix are turning dry, but they don't like to be moist all the time, otherwise they are prone to root rot. That's one of the reasons why Tolumnias get really, really stressed very quickly. Let me show you some examples of stressed Tolumnias. This one, as you can see, something's going on here. So I think the older growths got affected by root rot. And what happened with the leaves is that the bottom leaves start to fall, become completely brownish, strange. The color, the green faded, was not as a nice dark green as previously. And yeah, it's all rotten here. So in this case, I need to repot this plant and remove all of these dead growths. Another sign that I could spot here very easily is that the leaves were becoming completely wrinkled. And when I touch the leaves, they are not as succulent as it was before. So this is a clear sign that something is very wrong. With Tolumnias, they take a while to bounce back. So before you repot, ideally you should have many growths. I have many growths here. Because when you have only one tiny growth, they will take a while and I'm going to have to baby them a bit. But some of the signs that you have to look out for, as I said, is the leaves, how they are, and also look into the potting mix, see if you have roots inside it. If you don't, you're going to have to repot, change the potting mix, and then water it very often when the mix is dry, so it doesn't get even more stressed than before. And when we talk about the funds, they should also grow as tall as the previous funds, and they should be super firm, so they will become a larger orchid with time when they are healthy. Now you are equipped to spot the difference between healthy and unhealthy orchids, and you know exactly what to do to keep them thriving. Okay, so now remember that orchids are resilient plants, but they need their attention as well. And if you pay attention to the lights, potting mix, you know how, if the mix is aerated enough, if they have enough energy to keep growing, I am sure you're gonna have lots of beautiful blooms in the future. I love these plants so much. I hope you are lucky with yours. And let me know if you want me to repeat this video with some other different orchids. I would love to do it. More than that, I hope to see you next time. I hope you enjoyed the video today. And please subscribe to my channel, leave a like down below. And that's it. See you this week or next week or at some point. Bye bye.